So we'll take a look at the parse for it. Looking out here, our final number was 102.41k, which is my current best for this guy, which I have not run a lot. We'll take a look at the player combat analysis. We'll see Coalition Disruptor Beam, Fire at Will 3. Did pretty well for what I've been seeing just personally. This was a really good number, 40k. Coalition Disruptor, just auto fire, just under 23. Pets, almost 20k. We'll go break that down after, but let's take a look. Another 5k from the Terran. So we're looking about 45 to, yeah, about 45k DPS or fire with 3, which is really not bad at all. As you can see then, also, we don't have a number for Fire at Will 1, which is showing that we were using our Fire at Will 3 the majority of the time. So whatever we were using to bring down our cooldowns. I'm sure Fire Will 1 was up a few times, but in a position where I could have waited for the 3, it wasn't something that was going to hurt me necessarily. So that's kind of nice. And then you can see the big drops really after that. Yeah, that's what I'm noticing lately is not as many secondary things. So after our Terran, we see we're going to get our 2k out of our chemo, which isn't bad. The dampening wave console 2k, all right, I'll take it. Refracting Tetraion Cascade 2k, pretty good out of that. So and then it just drops off after that. Stabilizing Resonance Beam, almost nothing. More an ability I usually use for its debuffing quality, so that's not a big deal. But so we'll look at the pets here. We can see we definitely had a good warbird. I've seen better, but definitely a nice warbird. I usually average about 5 out of it, so that's not bad. What I'm really impressed by, and I've been impressed since I've come back to see these, is well, they have taken down the damage on anti-timeline entanglement, which is fine with me. Pets have been doing incredibly better. I've noticed. I've been seeing some really great numbers. I mean, drone ships always, but I never used to get these kind of numbers out of drone ships. More maybe 1.8 to maybe 2k. And here we're getting 10k out of just 2. The 2 I launched at the beginning, and they were with me the whole time. So that's pretty nice. How we doing, everybody? Tonight I wanted to talk about the build I was just running on the T6 Tactical Dreadnought Warbird, the Scimitar. But first, some of you guys might have realized or noticed that I haven't put out videos in a little while. Prior to Season 13, as we knew the balance was coming in, I kind of looked at things and didn't really see a point to really playing at the time, knowing that big changes were coming. I play for fun, just like everybody else, but I like to have goals and things I set up for, special kind of builds. That's what keeps the game fresh for me, because we've been there, done that. I've played ISA 1,000 times. I've played, so the there's not that new content sucking you in, trying to grab you. So it's really you come up with it yourself. Try this build, try that. So knowing that these changes were coming, I didn't really see any goals right in front of me, so I kind of took a break from the game. Season 13 came out, and I'll admit it's just been kind of, hard to get back on the horse, start going, and try to get bit by the STO bug again. But now I'm here. I'm testing out. I've been playing for a little while. I just put out a video about a torp run I did the other day. So far since I've been back, I've really been running a lot with torps and testing exotic Psi as well. For torps, I've noticed that they're still in the same ballpark. My old record was about 180. My current record with torps is about 140. Still in the same ship, still pretty much the same build. Nothing's changed. And I definitely think I could take it up, maybe get close to where that was. The only major thing with torps I've noticed is with the balance came the changing. I don't want to call it a nerf. I'll call it a changing of Omega kinetic shearing. The damage has been severely brought down there, but still I'm seeing really consistent numbers with the same ships I saw before there with torps. And then also with exotic science builds, like pure, I'm talking about builds, science captains running those science ships with their secondary deflector, and running pure exotic abilities, that, feedback pulse I never counted in there back when it was doing its ridiculous numbers. Now it really wouldn't matter if it was on there. But just a nice exotic build, which was one of the funner builds I used to have fun with. And again, I with that build was running, averaging just about 100 to 110, maybe hitting 125, 130 with it before. That was a style I had just recently got into before season 13, so wasn't necessarily a pro at it yet or anything. But I've seen good numbers out of that so far. I've been, in pug runs here pulling, high 90s, over 100. I think the best I've gotten so far was like 115. So in terms of both those builds and those styles, they've stayed around the same, to be honest. Different things, some abilities might be giving me a little less, while others might be giving me a little more. So it's definitely some trade-offs, but overall, both seem to be performing relatively the same, which is kind of nice. Now, for anything to do with beams and me, it's not happening. I've been having no luck whatsoever. So again, haven't been playing a lot, but when I have, I knew the changes that came in. I haven't sat down and tested and really, started ripping it apart. And to be honest, I haven't checked out many of my fellow YouTuber stuff because I was just kind of out of STO for a while and, you know, kind of enjoying the break. Needed some time away so that when it came back, hoping it was going to be fresh and fun. So I wasn't really checking out anybody's stuff. So I know that a lot of info's out there on what they've seen and what they picked up, but I like to go through a lot of it and kind of just test and bash my head into a wall with some of it until something works. So, but yeah, so I know the basics. Pretty much plasma consoles, pretty much garbage now. I mean, if we're looking at it for damage, they're not giving us what they were. So a whole area on your ship, the science consoles, that were pretty much guaranteed. We knew what was going there on 85% of builds. We knew our science consoles. We know what's going there. It's either plus threat or minus threat, plasma generating, weapon signature, amplifier, or nullifier, depending on the build. Now, not so much. So now we're kind of going back to looking for a ship with a lot of tactical console seating. And then secondary, we're looking at engineering and science. And mostly now we're filling it up with universals. So, and these being the flagship commit, these actually have a nice set of universal consoles to go with it. So this kind of made it a little easy of a decision and a way to go. So we're using all four pieces. We're using the timeline, obviously, off the Crenum Science Vessel. We have the Adaptive Emergency System, the Flagship Tactical Computer, and the Dampening Wave Emitter. Then we're also using the Kobali, which is definitely not healing the way it used to, but still really nice. Didn't know if I was going to need it or not. I'd say after have gone through the run, I could have taken it off. I can take it off and sub it out with something. So, and then here we're using, which to me, this is like the console right now. I have it on all my ships, all different style builds. It's really beautiful. It's great for damage, and it's great for keeping you alive. It's the Dynamic Power Distributor module. It's off the 23rd Century Prototype Dread. If you're a Fed, you have to buy the ship. If you are a ROM, you are lucky you can just buy this in a pack off the exchange. Haven't been around much, haven't been looking at the exchange, don't know the prices, but this thing used to be pretty cheap. So if you don't have it, go grab it. It's really worth it. Looking at its base stats, it's giving us 11.2 all damage resistance rating, which is a nice thing, obviously, with the fleet. As we can see, the research lab performance boost has been changed. So, before we could get away with, setting up our skills to not have any damage resistance. So now you're going to have to find that other places. You're either going to have to respec to get that in there or, get it from other places. So it's, not a bad thing. And then 17.8% director and energy damage. The activatable, you'll see, is going to give us plus 40% bonus damage. And then it's going to be reapplied every 1 second for 20 seconds as long as your health is above 80%. You might say, well, that sounds a little tough. I've been getting beat up in there. But the console itself is almost going to get you to 80% and keep you there, believe me. It's going to give you plus 100% bonus damage resistance rating for 20 seconds, and then plus 500% whole regen per minute for 20 seconds. So it really is a beautiful console, offensively and defensively. And then tactical, obviously, we just have 4 of the locators, disruptor. And then here we have the bioneural infusion circuits for the severity. So like I said, could get rid of the Kobali. What we could do is put in a 5th there and then move that down there. Or we could have kept that here and gone with something else. As you can see, I'm still running just, my Terran, my Coalitions, my Iconian set. From just talking to people and seeing what different people are doing, a lot of people have gone away from the Iconium, maybe backward in time to the Nakura 2-piece with maybe ROM engines, a Fleet Warp Core, or a Cryoplasma, either Warp Core or Singularity. This character doesn't have a lot of stuff. I built this character as my main Romulan DPS, and I knew what I needed for him at the time, back when it was Feedback Pulse, Fire Will, that kind of stuff. And I built him in that direction, and that's what I got. So now, I'm going to have to go out there and get some gear for this guy. So, not necessarily, the most optimal build. This is really just me sitting down and kind of putting together a base, going out there, seeing what it could do, and then from here we'll piece together. We'll change this out for this, see what we like, see how this is working compared to this. So, this is the build we come up with first. So, Iconian set, still using all 4, which, is nice, and is still, with the 4-piece having the subatomic pulse, is still going to be really nice. Offensively, yeah, it's Cat 1, but, helps with the flight speed and the hull for defense, so we'll take a look at our skills. We are using Intel Primary here instead of Temporal Op, which is probably one of the big changes. Now this more to me is just to test it out to see if I'm going to want to go back to Intel over Temporal Operative. With the Torps, like I said, I've still been running Torp and Exotic Psi. Both of those I kept Temporal Operative Primary and Strategist Secondary. Now for me over here, we still have Strategist Secondary, but now we're getting the other side of Strategist that we really didn't see before, because we were pretty much, or for me, I was always threatening. It was always pretty much builds where I was running threat. The Torp boats not so much, but all my beam kind of builds, all my other tactical builds, I wanted that threat. I mean, with Feedback Pulse doing the damage it was doing, why not? So when you were getting things like temporary hit points and stuff like that, now we're getting stuff like 2% crit chance for 10 seconds after incoming bridge officer or captain hull heal. So now, we're getting some, we're going to get 3%. So we're going to get different things out of it now because we're not threatening things we weren't getting from it before. So here you're going to see gives 2% crit severity. So we're getting crit chance and severity out of this area here. And then the big one now is going to be the fact that attrition warfare, while threatening, and this was a big part of those builds, was that we were always threatening with threatening stance and using strategist secondary. And when we used a hull heal once every 20 seconds, so you can see how they've changed it, we were getting our bridge officer abilities, cut down by, I think it was 30%. Now it's every 30 seconds, and it's 10%. And that's if you're threatening. Now, we're not even threatening now, so we're not getting any of that cooldown. So even though it's been dropped, and it even takes longer, so it's every 30 seconds, we're not getting any of it because we're not threatening in the first place now. So, that's a big deal right there. That's why, I think some of the reasons here why we used to run the Science Dreadnought, obviously, because we had the Science consoles and those plasma explosions. We loved them. We lived by them. It had, it had the good seating to fit your Feedback Pulse 2 on there, maybe a Tractor Beam Repulsor, get them in there on you. So now why we go in this direction is more tactical consoles is better now, because why need those Science consoles and tactical seating? So here we have our Fire at Will 3. We have a 2 for backup. You can see we have 2 tactical teams, so that's nice. We'll always have that up. And we have a Beta 3. Now, for that cooldown, we're using double ZMOX to bring that down, so that we're getting it on our cooldown. For Fire at Will 3, we're going to probably have to use our 2, because the only thing we got running to give us cooldown here, we're running Reciprocity. So pretty much the traits you're going to see look pretty much the same. I haven't gone and swapped out any traits so far, except for Improved Feedback Pulse, where that would have been obviously is now Reciprocity. The thought for me was, if I'm in a pug and I'm doing a decent amount of damage, and unless there's just a tank out there, which a lot of times at them, I don't get anybody threatening, believe me, I'm going to be taking in some threat, so, I think Reciprocity could help me out. Now, I know a lot of people have gone to Ox to Bat, things like that, to make up for it. I was never a big Ox to Bat fan, but when I first got into the game and started running Ox to Bat, I barely knew how to really play the game. I didn't understand mechanics, things like that. So because I didn't enjoy it back then, it's probably because I barely had a grasp on what I was actually trying to accomplish and what I was trying to do. So, Ox to Bat's, definitely an option. I know a lot of people who have gone in that direction and are enjoying it. So, maybe that would be the play. But I'll try some other things before I get that far. What I also could have done is I could have taken out either Energy Refrequencer or Armor Pen and put in the, I forgot the name now, Chrono Capacitor, I believe. Yes, the Chrono Capacitor array, which is going to reduce it by 7.5% per dumpster ability recharge speed. So, could have gone there too for our. Yeah, so, that was our station. So nothing much here, obviously, in science. We're just using our hazard emitters and then just stabilize resonance beam. Nothing special. One thing we could have done is we could have swapped out here. We could have swapped out our Universal Lieutenant Commander and this Universal Lieutenant if we wanted our 2-fire at will 3, so we were guaranteed to have that up. Now, I like my emergency power to weapons 3, so that's why I went in the direction I did, but I know some people who might prefer 2-fire at will 3s and just go emergency power to weapons 1 or 2, but, and then another copy, so you can either go another copy, so you could actually have had 2 copies of emergency power to weapons, a 1 and a 1 or something like that. I always have my emergency power to engines with the emergency con hologram because, especially in a big ship like this, it's absolutely a necessity. So, yeah, and then we'll just look at those real quick. We got our dual ZMOX, like we said, Space Warfare Specialist Borg, Agent Norrell, stacking crit severity buff, Energy Weapon Officer, and then our emergency con hologram. So, what you can see here, this is not a big change at all yet, but the damage is definitely down from what it would have been if I ran this exact build, prior to Season 13. To break 100k with this, though, with some of the success I've had with just running any kind of beam since the launch of Season 13, is actually, it actually feels pretty nice. It's a good building point. It's a good starting point. Now I have my basis, and I could start switching in and out for different things and really start to play around. Different things that I've seen people do. I can get the Nausicaan set, the Nausicaan Energy Torpedo, the Disruptor, which is a nice debuffing energy torp. What that will also do is I could end up using the trait from here. So, firing torpedo grants 1 stack of supercharged weapon buff, which is going to give us plus 10% damage, plus 1.5 critical chance, and 6.6 crit severity for 20 seconds. And that can stack up to 3 times. So, that's a pretty nice little mix there. Throwing a nice spread in there maybe instead of the chemo, or in place of one of our tactical dreams, and throw a con officer on there to bring down our cooldown there. And then, we could also put in, we were saying we could take off the Kobali, so we could have put in the Nausicaan console that comes in. It's the science one, and then put in the Nausicaan Disruptor beam in here as well. And, that could have helped us out. The 3-piece is going to give us the Disruptor damage boost and some plus 50, I think, to Armor Pen. So there's directions definitely to go. This is a decent start point, and just going to move on from here. So, I'll keep you guys posted. I'll keep making videos about how I change, see if things are getting better or worse, what decisions aren't good. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you guys are having fun. Thanks.